Hey watch fans, Brad from Brent Miller Jewelers. And today I have for us the new Tudor Black Bay 41 with the master chronometer movement, and a customer was kind enough to let me use his prior generation model with the lovely red aluminum bezel. And I thought it'd be fun to put these side by side and really just kind of do a quick comparison. And so I did review this one, and I'll link that video to this, but the specs on the new one, I measured diagonally across, so above the crown, diagonally across at 40.7, compared to the older model at 41. And I measured these a couple times, and that's what I got. So slightly smaller across, the same measurement of 40.7 across the bezel. Again, the bezel is just that little bit of lip over the case there. Similar, actually not similar to the prior generation. So you can see a little bit different there. It's more flush on the prior gen, and that's just a small difference we'll go over here as we review these. But anyway, 41 versus 40.7, and then the same thing, 41 millimeters across the bezel on this one. So the same case diagonally versus 3 to 9 on the bezels. Moving from there, the crystals. I have 1 millimeter smaller on the crystal on the new version. I measured it 31.2 compared to 32.2. So again, I measured these a couple times. 1 millimeter smaller on the actual crystal across the diameter of the crystal. And then I also took one more measurement. I measured for the edge of the case across the crown, so including the crown, 43.8 on the new one versus 44.4 on the older model. And then here's where things get fun. Going into case thickness. Measured the new one at 13.7. The old one I measured at 14.7. So 1 millimeter thinner. And I think just visually it looks more than 1 millimeter. Again, that's not including the NATO. I just tucked the plastic caliper underneath the NATO to get 14.7 on this one. So a millimeter thinner. So a millimeter smaller on the crystal, a millimeter thinner case thickness, and then I also got about a millimeter thinner or shorter lug tip to lug tip. On the new one, I measured that at 49.2. On this old one, I measured at 50.1. So again, about a millimeter shorter lug tip to lug tip. We have a 21 millimeter lug width on this new model versus the 22 millimeter lug width on the prior generation. Again, I don't have it on the bracelet. I do believe it tapered to the same 16, but again, I don't have the bracelet to comment with certainty on that. And then you have the master chronometer movement, obviously on the new one. Same 70 hours of power reserve. And again, I didn't weigh this on the strap because I don't have it on the bracelet, so I can't give you a weight on the bracelets. The new one was 163.9. So hopefully that gives you a pretty close or a pretty quick rundown size and dimensionally here. Give you a shot from the crown side. Again, this is a used customer's model. He's letting me borrow on the prior generation. So you can apologize for some of the scuffs there on the case. But again, just looking, some of the things I noticed first and foremost is this bezel a little bit over the edge of that case compared to this bezel sits more flush. And then even if you look at the I call it the knurling or the coin edge on the bezel, this one the prior gen looks more finer to me. Just a little bit closer together and maybe a little bit more spaced out on the newer generation here. You do have domed crystals on both. And if you're looking at the crowns, you can see the prior gen was more of a brushed crown, and you have a polished on the new one. Then looking at the dial itself, colors remain, to my eye, identical in that red. The prior generation to me seems to have, I don't know, maybe a little bit more of like a matte finish to the dial itself. Just again, very, very close, but to me, just looking at these, a little bit more matte on that. You can see the minute hand gets thinner there at the center compared to straight through here on the prior gen. And then you can also see the Lollipop second hand versus the Snowflake second hand. But again, all very similar. Looking at the text, same text, except you have 2 lines here versus the 3 lines on the prior generation. So very similar, but yet certainly I think wears more wrist-friendly for those with smaller wrists such as myself. So enough of me kind of talking. Let me throw these both on wrist. I'll give you a loom shot and wrap this up. Again, I have a 6 3/4 inch wrist. I'll give the new version. This new version does have the T-fit clasp. If that was on bracelets, I'd show you that. It does not. And again, this is on the NATO, so it is going to look more thick on the NATO. However, I think here, once I get this on, you'll see the difference in case profile on my wrist. So again, we are on a NATO, which adds about 1 millimeter, so you're looking at about 15.7 there instead of the 14.7 of just the case. But even if I slide this, hopefully that helps you out a little bit. Let me grab the lights here quick. As always, if there's anything I can help you out with, feel free to shoot me an email, brad@brentlmiller.com. Let me know what you think of this new model. I'll certainly answer any questions in the comment section. Thanks for viewing, and we'll see you in the next video.